Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back through daily crypto news and analysis, and today we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP. Specifically, we're going to be talking about quite a bit of things in regards to, special drawing rights. We're also going to be talking about monetary values and things like that. I'm really going to be breaking down this entire process, really kind of giving you guys my insights on this, and at the end of this video, I think that you guys should have a pretty good, viewpoint on XRP's actual value and things like that. So, with that in mind, let's just dive in and let's talk about a few things. So, first off, I don't really care about market cap. I think that a lot of people kind of box themselves in once they really kind of talk about, market cap and, like circulating supply and things like that. Yes, these, numbers do, for the most part, matter, but you got to remember that monetary values could be put on assets. Now, for the most part, when I do talk about this, retail kind of gets, shafted, if you will, when monetary values do come into play. The interesting thing about XRP is that, there is, XRP in escrow, and it's about like 50 billion, XRP that is in escrow, which we will address later on in this video. I don't want to talk to you guys about like the market too much. I don't really, want to do that right now in this video. What I really want to talk about is just the idea around XRP and where like monetary values and things like that do come into play. So, here is a video. It is a little bit older of a video. It goes back, to December of 2021, and the actual video is a little bit older. Now, this is, on the chain and Coin Club, Quincy talking about a buyback situation from the Fed in regards to the escrow situation within XRP, which is that 50 billion XRP that is sitting out there that gets released basically every single month. You guys are probably all aware of this. Now, escrow itself does work in the situation on the Ripple network mechanism. So that escrow does get released for ODL, customers to utilize and to source liquidity. Now, a lot of individuals do say like, hey, we will most likely see a buyback and the price of XRP will be X and X, which we will address also. But listen closely to this video.
The biggest thing, and I think that would set the context for everything that would stem off of that. So if there are any sort of regulations based off of how you could treat XRP and there was some sort of confiscation event, I think it'd be them confiscating the escrow and then setting the rules off of how you could treat XRP based off of that event.
So a follow-up for that, Quincy. What's the mechanism where somebody could come in and actually take the escrow? Because as you know, it's validator nodes that are set up. You need 80% consensus once an amendment is put forth. So I'm saying, like, what mechanism or regulation would they currently use? I don't think anything exists right now.
I'm glad you said that. That is so brilliant that you said that, because the answer is so simple. And when you say it out loud, the answer is so simple. And you want to take a guess what it is?
I could take a guess. Yeah, I could take a guess. I mean, when it comes to the government, anything is possible.
It's actually very simple. It's a one size fit all simple solution. It's actually kind of funny, and you guys will love it. It's really simple. And when
lay it on us, man.
So the way that the government will confiscate the escrow isn't so much that they'll confiscate it, but they'll buy it, and they'll buy every single month's escrow release at whatever price to set liquidity at the price. You see what I mean? That's them setting the price of XRP at buying it at a certain price. Setting liquidity will set liquidity for the rest of the market on top of any sort of regulatory frameworks they want to set. So they won't confiscate it because, they're forcing them to confiscate it. They'll just force a buyout from the escrow every month at whatever price to set liquidity in the market.
And that is also why I've said like market cap matters to an extent, right? Because this is basically, if you want to put it in quotation marks, a confiscating, sort of, mechanism that they would basically be doing, where they will buy out that, the unlock or the unlock of escrow every single month. Now, when we really look at that, right, he said, whatever price that they would be paying at that point in time per XRP. Remember, market cap is only defined by the price that someone is willing to pay per, this asset. The same with like Bitcoin, right? Like if I were to pay, I don't know, If I wanted to pay like $50,000 per Bitcoin, it would change the market cap drastically. That's why I've said, like, in the past, market cap only matters to an extent, because all that market cap really kind of gives you is the value that someone is willing to pay per XRP. Now, of course, when we really look at this, what price would XRP have in that buyback situation? Well, a lot of people, speculate. To me personally, like, I think that a large amount of the, price targets that do get thrown out there are a little bit astronomical, and I do think that it is to, spark debate, get clicks, get views, etc. And we actually do see, from this video, this is a video from a while back. I'm sure that a lot of you that are a part of the XRP community have probably heard this video 100 times at least. It is from, Jimmy Valley from, the Hill Capital, and he's basically thinking that XRP could be worth between $10,000 to $35,000 per coin after regulations and after, it's determined to be the world's bridge currency. And it is interesting, but I want to just play this real quick, and then we will go over it in detail.
That could be resolved.
Also, yes, the video is low. I do apologize. That's literally just the volume of it. I know that a lot of people think that, like, I'm the one controlling the volume. Just so that you guys know, this is going through a full-on mic setup. So the volume is the highest that it possibly can go. I do apologize. So, if you can't hear it all that well, I do apologize.
In a variety of ways, but it could also be resolved in regulation coming in over the top. We know it's imminent, though, right? So when I say imminent, I would be surprised if a quarter from now we're really still embroiled in the SEC lawsuit, because I think the state of affairs throughout the world is such that we're going to need a solution like an XRP for liquidity purposes sooner rather than later. So the question is then, okay, we've magically resolved it. Where does the price go? It's easy to project that it's a double-digit number. So I think it immediately shoots up to a $10, potentially $20. The wild card to me is that there is actually a deal to be done among the central banks and governments to basically have XRP work as the world's bridge currency, a neutral asset that could be traded between the central banks to move a specific type of fiat to another type of fiat. If that's what occurs, it's back to what we were discussing earlier. It's got to cover kind of all the money. And I think you're looking at a range that XRP would settle on agreement. So this would happen instantaneously, somewhere between $10,000 and $35,000 a coin. And our lives will be, maybe the same, maybe different. I don't know.
And, when we talk about this, like, listen, if I told you, hey, XRP that you're holding, thousands of, maybe even tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, etc., is going to go to 10,000 to 35,000 per coin, you tell me that it's absolutely ridiculous. Or maybe, you'll be excited, you're thinking that, hey, I'm going to be rich, like, as soon as possible. I want you guys to understand. So first off, like, yes, like, in regards to, like, monetary values, in regards to the value of XRP, like, yes, this could happen. And I said, like, it could. Do I think that the chances of this happening are, extremely high? No, I don't. And I don't think that people should be, dead set on these, targets being, hit. I will say this, right? When we look at XRP, like, to me, I keep, a very, very nice bag locked away, forever. I do have a bag that I will sell. I will, take profits and, get my initial investments back, etc. And I do think that that is in the best interest of everyone. I don't think that you should be sitting around waiting for $1,000 XRP, $10,000 XRP. To me, when we are looking at, like, the current structure of the financial system, there is going to be liquidity crises, right? Or crises, if you will. And I do think that XRP could solve a large amount of those problems. But I'm not going to sit here and wait for $10,000 per XRP. I do have a bag just in case we do get to that point. Now, how will we get to that point? Well, it's through buybacks. Now, also, if we are talking about, something like a buyback, or maybe even we're talking about, a monetary value being put on XRP, we kind of look at, SDRs and even E-Sdrs, special drawing rights, if you will. And, there was a question back in January of 2021. And it's talking about E-Sdrs. We do see what happens if XRP is designated by the IMF as an E-Sdr. Can we keep our XRP? What is an SDR? Our SDRs, like the Federal Reserve banknotes printed out of thin air. Only IMF member countries can hold SDRs, not retail. Now, just so that you guys know, an SDR, special drawing rights, are basically they're assets that allow for a global reserve currency. Now these are actually multiple assets that are sitting there. For an example, we do see here an SDR was created as a supplementary international reserve asset in the context of the Bretton Woods fixed exchange rate system. We do see the collapse of Bretton Woods system in 1973 and the shift of major currencies to floating exchange rate regimes lessen the reliance on the SDR as a global reserve asset. Nonetheless, SDR allocations can play a role in providing liquidity and supplementing member countries' official reserves, as well as the case amid the global financial crisis. Now, when we look at this, yes, this is for liquidity purposes, financial crises or crises, if you will, and they are allowing for a reserve currency to be met. Now, I do think that this is exciting when you look at something like XRP being a part of this, if it could be a part of it. We do see currencies included in the SDR basket have to meet two criteria. The export criterion and the freely usable criterion. A currency meets the export criterion if its issuer is an IMF member or a monetary union that includes IMF members and is also one of the top 5 world exporters. For a currency to be determined freely usable by the IMF, it has to be widely used to make payments for international transactions and widely traded in the principal exchange markets. And, does XRP meet all of that? Not exactly, but it definitely is close to, being so. Now, of course, like, the question in the room, the $1 million question in the room, if you will, is the idea on, like, will retail be a part of this? It's hard to say, right? Because, again, we are seeing, a few questions here in regards to, like, how will this work if XRP is designated as an E-Sdr? Well, the Fed will basically put on a monetary value for this, or AKA, decide the value of it. And a lot of people are questioning on, like, if it's going to be the gold standard, if it's going to be here, there, whatever the case may be. Like, you look at the value of it, and here we have like a few values, right? The value of the entire, like, this is XRP as a basket. Value of the entire basket based on the return to the gold standard and on the price set of XRP. Gold value, whatever they decide the value of gold to be at that time, $9,600. I picked the number out of thin air. Also goes to IMF, 50 billion 50 billion times 9,600 equals unit of account or total value of the basket currencies. Now, to me, like, again, it's hard to put a value on XRP in these circumstances, but it doesn't really matter because will, retail be a part of this? Because to me, like, they will try to buy your XRP before anything actually happens within this. And again, that is a very small chance to me, at least. Anyone can have their own idea on that. Again, it's open for discussion because, to me personally, like, this is a lot of speculation around these situations. But we do see, like, what do you think, in terms of a price for buyback? I know it's strictly speculative at this point, but just curious on your thoughts. I'm concerned it won't be $1,000 per XRP like I've seen people say. That's a lot of people becoming very wealthy. And XRP holders just like 0.5% of the population, and most of them will be broke, inside 10 years. You got to also remember, right? And this is why I've always said, like, it's totally, okay to have a small bag on the sidelines just in case this does happen. A lot of individuals will be out of XRP, during times like this. Like, if something like this happened, almost everyone will be out of XRP at that point, or at least a large portion of the holders. Remember, speculation goes a long way, but what actually goes a long way? Fear and, doubt. To me, I think that the SEC lawsuit was a great way to shake up retail. I think that there will be events like that in time as well. But when we really look at like, SDR and, an E-Sdr, like we've been seeing a large amount of movement around SDRs for a while. Going back to August 2nd, the IMF governors approved a historical, $650 billion SDR allocation of special drawing rights. Again, these are, just values that are thrown on the SDR, if you will. The SDR basket, itself has, a certain, price on it. And that's why we are seeing like, current prices being thrown around, like, or just like, thin air prices being thrown around. And I also do think that like the $10,000 to $35,000 per coin price demand area was also just thrown on XRP out of nowhere as well. But I think that it is viable at the end of the day. Like, when we look at the value on XRP, like it could technically be anything that they want it to be if it becomes, a reserve currency or a reserve bridge currency. I could definitely see the value of XRP rising drastically. But I want to ask you guys a simple question, and it's the idea on like, will you actually be holding your XRP after $100 is, hit on XRP, waiting for $10,000? Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense to, be holding your entire bag. First off, I will say this. I, well, I always advise to not just be, a bag holder until a certain target is met. Like, for me personally, like, am I going to wait for XRP to hit $100 with my whole bag? No, absolutely not. I'm getting my, initial investment out, at least at a 10x opportunity. Now, after that, I will have a bag that lets it ride to, say for so $10, $15, $20, because I think that those are viable, targets that could be met. Now, am I going to be waiting for $1,000, $10,000, etc.? No, I'm not. I will have a bag left on the sidelines, just in, case anything crazy does happen, because again, at the end of the day, this is all speculation. I will say this. What is not speculation is where XRP is actually positioned in regards to, for example, cross-border payments. I think that XRP's role within the cross-border payment mechanism from Ripple is actually fairly good in regards to its actual use case. And I actually think that this is where XRP, to me, is more viable than ever. Yes, I do think that XRP, in regards to like liquidity and the on-demand liquidity solution that Ripple has created within this mechanism, is incredible. I think that the value behind that is what's going to really derive the value of XRP. I'm not going to sit here and speculate on, is the Fed going to buy back the XRP, escrow? Is the Fed going to sit here and, put a value on it? Is XRP going to become an E-Sdr? Like, I don't care for speculation too much. Like, I want to sit here and actually, like, put in the time on, research on the actual use case around XRP. To me, yes, I do believe that XRP could be a viable, liquidity crises, solution. I think that it could, really solve many liquidity, concerns and problems around the financial system, especially at times like now, where we are seeing liquidity runs possibly being, a realistic, thing within the banking scene. But when we look at cross-border payments, I think that this market is enough for XRP to disrupt. You got to remember that this is over a $200 trillion market by 2027. And, again, like certain percentages of that, like I know that I don't really like to do like, all right, well, what would XRP's value be at just 1% of that market? I don't like to do that, but it is realistic. Like, this is the most realistic payment scheme that we could see for XRP in regards to like deriving value. Again, remember, like XRP, or I shouldn't say XRP, but Ripple themselves have, prided themselves on targeting the cross-border payment scene for the longest time. I do think that a lot of people think that like the ISO 222, standard is what's going to change the game. And I do think that ISO 222, for the most part, yes, it does allow for these assets to be utilized. But I don't think that it's going to be like, an astronomical thing. Again, remember, this is, a payment standard. It allows for these assets to be utilized. And also remember that the asset itself is not ISO 222, standard, or, if you will. It's the company itself. Okay, the company is compliant within ISO 20022. It could allow for the standard to be moved over its network. And yes, this does mean that they could utilize, XRP within that, payment mechanism. So technically, yes, when you look at it, XRP, is ISO 20022 compliant, but it's more so centered around the company to be able to utilize that asset and, the company's clients to utilize that asset as well. But in regards to like cross-border payments, they aren't ready for the future. There's a ton of issues within them. Obviously, yes, they are focused on DLT technology, aka the ledger itself, XRP ledger. We do see, it is our duty to continuously search for superior technological, solutions to deliver ever improved remittance services for our customers. With the steady rise of remittance flows, we see Ripple helping us open up, new revenue potential and a better overall experience for our customers. And this is from SBI Remit. Remember, SBI is a very large company. And the reason why I bring this back up, and the reason why I actually look at this is a one-pager, by the way. Like, this is a one-page, PSP, file. This is a PDF. But they are talking about already adopted in 70 countries. Now it is a lot more. It is estimated that 87% of global financial transactions will be supported by ISO 222 by 2023. Through RippleNet and its ISO 222 membership, customers are able to help define the future direction of cross-border payments, access a network of global financial institutions governed by rules and functional standards, leverage software to enable fast, transparent, and seamless cross-border payments, connect to one standardized API for all counterparty connections, and simplify implementation and reduce operational overhead. And again, we do see, who runs on Ripple. They are mentioning a few names here. Over 300 financial institutions around the world rely on Ripple's growing global payments network, payout capabilities in 70 plus countries, presence in 45 plus countries and 6 continents. And like I said, yes, I do believe that when we look at ISO 222, it opens the doors for a lot of these DLT technologies and also, the assets like XRP to be utilized within their, use case value, aka like cross-border payments, the liquidity source. And like XRP in regards to a liquidity source is probably one of the most crucial use cases that I see around XRP. I think that for the longest time, and trust me, I completely understand where a large amount of XRP holders are at. I think that there's a huge, there's a huge issue around the value derived on XRP. There's a ton of speculation in this market. Trust me, I think that crypto is great. I love crypto. I love the communities. But I just think that there's a large amount of speculation that goes into it. I think that XRP, at some point in time, yes, I do believe that it could hit, $100 valuation. $4.8 trillion is definitely a large amount of money. But as a liquidity source, you look at it, it is disrupting the $27 trillion, Nostro Vostro accounts. I know that there's so many values that have been derived around Nostro Vostro accounts. I know that it's ever changing in regards to the value that's actually in those accounts. But it's also that is just one area. But then you look at cross-border payments, which is over $156 trillion at the current standard, going to be reaching $200 trillion plus. And then you also do see retail use cases around XRP, being derived. There's a large amount of use case value around XRP itself. But I just want to ask you all a question, and this is going to be, the last official question in this video that I do ask from all of you. Okay, and that is, at $10 on XRP, is that enough for you? Is a $10 XRP enough? Because to me personally, okay, we look at the value of, Ethereum, for an example, at its all-time highs and compare it to XRP. Remember, right? When we look at Ethereum, it had roughly a $550 billion market cap. That was, what somebody was willing to pay per Ethereum. To me, XRP between $50 to $100 is very realistic. I know that a lot of people will say $1,000 XRP is realistic, which would be a 3,183x. We'd have a $48.3 trillion market cap. I want you guys to understand right now that I am projecting by 2030 that the entire crypto market will be worth between $50 to $100 trillion. So to believe that XRP, okay, would have roughly almost 100 to 50% market share value over the entire crypto market, within the next coming years or even by 2030, I think is fairly unrealistic. I think that long term, XRP could hit $1,000 per, but you also have to, account like, what do you think that, the economic, future of the economies and, just overall life would actually look at, or look like at that point in time. Because remember, inflation is the driving, price value around a large amount of these assets. Like, in regards to, in regards to like everyday life right now, like there's a large amount of I would say like monetary value shift around a large amount of things. I'm sure that a lot of you actually do see that. And when we really kind of look at like, for example, like $48.3 trillion being in just one asset around crypto, I think that that's just unrealistic in my opinion. Um, I see it long term, but again, like economic shift around like the actual economy, within like, just everyday life would probably be, pretty rough at around this time. And again, like with the viewpoints on like what the Fed's doing and around like the economic views around like the United States, for example, I could definitely see inflation being a lot worse in the future and liquidity being a lot worse in the future. So I can see XRP basically being sourced for liquidity needs and things like that. But I would say short term by 2030. I could see XRP having, some sort of value like, for example, a $100 XRP. I could see that by roughly, 2030, 2035, like around that time frame. And it could happen sooner than, later. I'd love to be wrong, but I would say like a $10 to $50 XRP is a little bit more realistic in the, short term. But I just want to ask you guys, like, are you okay with $10? Are you okay with $20? Because these are viable price demand targets. Remember, Bitcoin just recently hit $1 trillion at its all-time highs. So, I think that a $1 trillion XRP in regards to market cap is realistic. I think that it's realistic by like, roughly, the 2025 to 2030 time frame. But let me know what you guys think. I mean, like, what do you think the real value of XRP actually is? I think that there's a large amount of, value, or I should say, price targets that do get thrown out there. I've seen every single price target known to man. I've seen $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. Like, it's absolutely insane. But just don't get caught up in the, I would say, I don't want to say like hopium or anything, but it's like more so like clickbait, if you will, for these like, prices. Don't get caught up in it. Have your exit plan. Have a realistic exit plan. You could save a bag, just in case anything does go, crazy, if you will. But I hope that kind of clarifies things, and I hope that gives you guys my viewpoint on it. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all. Have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.